Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining tonight's edition of HR Mentorship and Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, the host of this program. Tonight, we have a regular veteran HR that delivers value back to back. I'm always excited anytime he is able to sacrifice time to teach, facilitate, share with us from his wealth of experience. Fola Vincent, and I will read his profile very quickly for some of us that may just be getting to come in contact with him for the first time, even though he has been around the industry. Fola Vincent has over 4 years experience, 12 years experience in HR consulting, performance management, corporate training, and leadership coaching. He's a science student, not the type of Olamide, please. He has a Bachelor's of Science, Chemistry, Education, has a Master's in Education, Counseling, and Psychology, and is wrapping up his PhD program in Personnel Psychology from the Premier University of Ibadan. He's a certified business psychology practitioner. He's an application reader, Mandela Washington Fellowship. He's also certified in economic evaluation with respect to global health, has a mini MBA in business innovation, growth, and sustainability, is a trained Agile and Prince 2 project manager, certified Google data analyst, is also a senior professional in Human Resource International SPHR. Is a Maxwell leadership coaching practitioner, is also a former faculty manager at First City Monumental Bank Training Academy. Currently, he heads learning, performance, and culture at Human Capital with Nova Bank. He's a lead consultant, Primera Consult, L&D consultant, EZ37 Solutions, training consultant, CPPL, president and co-founder, Palm Lead Africa, lead faculty and program coordinator, Real Success Program, RCC Jesus Network. And he's also a regular facilitator. So I'm adding to his profile on the prestigious HR mentorship platform. I mean regular. He has, if I'm not mistaken, more than 6 or 7 already, and more to come. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking on the topic, all right, measuring the returns on investment of trading. I'm excited to hand over control of this virtual lecture to Fola Vincent, SPHRI. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yemi Adeosun. As always, I will keep thanking you for having this platform and for making people to be a blessing. You know, what you do now and probably what you are doing for all of us is a great thing, because weekly we get to learn, and we all know when we learn, there's going to be a change in behavior. And when there is a change in behavior, there's going to be a change in performance. As a result of changing performance, we quickly start getting results. So today, I will be talking about measuring the ROI of training. My name is Fola Vincent. I'm currently the lead learning performance and culture at Novabank. Okay, I have been introduced, so I don't have to bore you with my profile. So we have 4 major models. We have the evaluation framework and ROI model. We have the measuring behavior and result, ROI of training model. Then we're going to do 1 or 2 case study, and from there we round up. So let's quickly move into model 1, the evaluation framework and ROI model. So the objective of this one is to assess the knowledge of participants about training ROI evaluation models and framework, and to explain 3 different evaluation models and framework. And we're quickly going to do that. So the first question today, as you all know, I love to start by asking question. And the question is very simple. How did you make the decision of getting a laundry or dry cleaning services in your location? You can actually put it in the comment section. It may be like mine. You know, I could remember I have about 3 of them in my location. Then I try them each. Then at the end of the day, I say 2 for 1. And today, whether I am in Ibadan or I'm in Lagos, that person actually does my laundry. So how did you make the decision of your laundry and dry cleaning services? Or let me also put it this way. How did you decide that if you're married anyway, let's assume you're married, how did you decide to say, okay, this person is going to be my wife or this person is going to be my husband? How did you make the decision to say, okay, I'm going to accept the offer from this organization, why I reject the other? Probably you decided to do 1 or 2 evaluation on assessment and you settle for what you think is the best for you. The same thing happened in the ROI model. And, as you can see, the framework here, we have the reaction, we have the learning, behavior, impact, and ROI, which is from the return on investment of training. And today we are going to be looking at this. Yeah, we might spend a little time in reaction and learning, but we're going to spend so much time on behavior, impact, and ROI, which is the major reason that we are here today. So how do we define ROI? Very simple. ROI simply means return on investment, which means how much value is gained when money is spent on a training program. That's what it refers to as ROI of training. How much value is gained when money is spent on a training program. As you are aware, year in, year out, the board, the senior management, depending on the people you are reporting to, they will always ask you one question. What is the impact of training on the organization, on the behavior of the employee? As you all know, what we usually manage as L&D and even human resource, human capitals, is always the behavior of the employee. You are not measuring the behavior of the employee, you are measuring the culture of the organization. So we even go further and say we are measuring the performance of the organization. I know that you have put a lot into the comment section regarding the question I asked you about the laundry services. How do you get to make such decision? Apology, I will not be able to read that. So probably by the time I'm done with this, I'll be able to go back there and actually read. So training. ROI of training also means measuring all the economic returns generated from an investment in a training program. Underline the word economic returns. So simply put, training is a serious business. To the board, to the management, is a serious business. Because over the years, they have seen how training has so much impact on the bottom line of the business. An ROI evaluation fulfills senior management requirements to justify training budget and investment. Was it last year, a particular colleague of mine reached out to me from other industry and I said, Fola, I don't know what is happening. My management are not investing in training. It's like there is no training here. I said, okay, probably the reason why they are not investing in training or no training activities in the organization was because they don't really see the value of training. They have not seen how training change culture, how training change performance, how training impart on the financial of the organization. When we talk about a scorecard from financial down to the customers, down to process, or even people, they don't see the impact of training all of this. So yeah, they're not going to invest. So you've got to go an extra mile to show them. You need to show them how training can impact them. What are the benefits of ROI evaluation when it comes to training? Number one, it validates training as business tools. Number two, we are able to gain credibility from the board or from the management. Some of us, we have lost credibility from these people. So when you send a proposal or you send a memo for justification of particular training, they do not take you serious because there is no credibility. Number three is to justify the cost incurred in training. Whether you like it or not, a lot of money goes into training. Not just physical cost, there are a lot of time that goes into training. Emotion go into training. A lot of things go into training. I don't know how it is in your organization, but in my organization, training is purely business, especially if you work in the banking industry. Anybody working in the banking industry here, they know that training is a serious business for me and for the banking industry. Number four, to determine the training effectiveness. How do we know that this training is effective? And how do we know that it is impactful? So that is what we are doing today anyway. Let's quickly look at some fact sheet, okay? Many people don't bother to evaluate their training programs. You might be part of these people. You just do training, no evaluation, no assessment. Everybody just say, oh, wow, that's a fantastic training, and everybody just go away. Or two, if they do measure something, it's just a short survey given to participants at the end of a class. Some of us, the only thing you do after the training is to just give them a survey and it ends there. Yes, you are doing a lot. You have done something great, but it could be better. And that is what we are trying to do today. How do you ensure that training becomes better in your organization? Okay. So let's quickly look at training evaluation models and framework, because this is where it begins. And I am sure you should have known something about the ADDIS, okay? How you come about your training analysis, you move to design, you go to development, you go to implementation and also evaluation. So what we are focused on today is the E, which is the evaluation of the ADDIS model of training. So we just go straight to evaluation. So training evaluation is the systemic process of analyzing training programs from the start of the design of program through determining the program's impact, in this case, ROI. It evaluates its value and worth for the time and money invested. I need you to underline something there. There is a process. It's a process from design down to implementation and also down to, evaluation. Okay. So it's a process. It's not something that just happened one day. Now you need to write that down. Training evaluation does not just happen one day. It is a process from the beginning of training analysis down to the implementation and also evaluation. Training evaluation has started, okay? And I'm going to show you one or two things as we continue. So there is a common words that we usually speak in the L&D community, or probably if you are a generalist, you should be able to speak this language too, even in management or the board. They said, what gets measured can be managed. So what it means is what you cannot measure cannot be managed. So how do you manage? How do you measure training? This is the framework. Number one, investigate the training needs. And that is that I told you, if you are going to evaluate your training, it is not that you wake up one day and start doing it. No, it begins from training needs. And there is something that makes training needs unique, in case you don't know. I don't know how you come about your training needs, but something makes training needs unique. Number one, you will see objective under training needs. There's going to be an objective. There's going to be outcome. This outcome could be in monetary value. It could be behavioral. It could be culture. So there's usually outcome of training. So I don't know how your training needs look like, but no matter what you are putting into your training needs, it must have objective and outcome. That is, what is the behavior we want to see change, and what is the performance we want to drive? What is the culture you really want to drive? Probably if I see the way your training need is, I can put one or two inputs, but it must have objective and it must also have outcome. That is exactly what we want to measure at the end of the training. So once we have our training needs, then we move into design of the training. Okay. So at that particular level, you want to come up with the curriculum, you want to come up with how will the training look like? So somebody can design a training for 1 year. It could be leadership, it could be customer service. Okay, quarter one, this is what we are doing. Quarter two is what we are doing. This is going to be the last stage of this training. So you have to design it. Who's going to facilitate? What video are we playing? What extracurriculum activities are we adding to this training? So that is a full bucket of design. And every design of the training should be linked to the objective of the training and also the outcome of the training, because that is exactly what we want to measure. So you are not just doing training because you want to do. No, it is not, I feel like doing things. It's not training is not a buzzword that everybody can just come up with. If you are not ready to change behavior, then don't do training. If you are not ready to change culture or drive performance, depending on what you are driving in your organization, there's no point for training. Yes. So that is why the design of the training is also linked to the evaluation of the training. So the next thing you do is to deliver. And let me remind you again. In all of these, your evaluation has begun. So it is not until you end or implement training you begin evaluation in all of this. Okay. So by the time you are delivering the training, you are conscious of the objective, and not just the objective, of the outcome of the training. You are conscious while delivering. Somebody like me, I'm facilitating the training. Like right now, as I'm doing what I'm doing right now, I'm conscious of the objective of this training, and I'm conscious of the outcome of this training. And the last one there is to assess the effectiveness of the training. But it didn't just start from effectiveness. It begins from your training needs. You have to look into it, go into design of training, then go to delivery of training, and now you want to assess your training. Here's the process, another process of training evaluation. We have the before training, during training, and after training. I think we have learned all of this thing when I'm in secondary school, okay? When our teachers come into the class, before they come, they will have written some kind of lesson note, and the first thing they do with you is to look at your experiential knowledge. Okay, what knowledge you have on this? They could give you some kind of pre-assessment. Then from there, they move into the training. They begin to assess you as the training continues. And by the time you are done with training, they assess you after the training. And these are the indicators or factors that drive training, evaluation. Why is it so important to know if your training program is actually working, to develop your credibility, to improve your training programs, to meet stakeholders' expectations, and to get funding for vital training programs? That is why we have to do all of this. Okay. How to evaluate a training program in 4 steps. Number 1, choose the appropriate model. I'm still going to talk about this model as we continue. Number 2 is to determine indicators of training effectiveness. Just like the way you have your KPI in terms of objective and also outcome, we need to do that. Number 3, choose the right method and collect your data. And the last one, we analyze the data. So a lot of things go into this before you begin to analyze. And we're going to look at them one after the other. Okay. There are commonly used training evaluation model, and we just focus on the most used one. Number 1, we have the Philip ROI methodology. We have the Brinkerhoff success case method. We have the Kirkpatrick 4 levels. There are other methods, but these are the most used, and even one of them, which is the Kirkpatrick 4 levels, are the generally most used training evaluation model. Okay. So let's look at the Philip ROI methodology by the Jack Phillips, which built on the Kirkpatrick 4-level model by introducing ROI model as level 5. So this is where we get the ROI from Philip ROI methodology. Level 1 measure the reaction, satisfaction, and plan and action. And, immediately you finish your program or training program, you can ask the question, how do you feel? Or people begin to talk about how they feel. Do you have confidence in this training? Yes. Or can you look into the facilitator content, knowledge, time management, the food, the ambience of the training hall, lighting, the use of video, all that stuff, even communication. You look at all these things, then people begin to tell you, okay, are we satisfied with the learning, or are we not satisfied with the learning? Then from there, you move to level 2, which has to do with learning. Now, this is where people get confused about level 1 and level 2, okay? Level 1, all you need to do is to just give them what refers to as a survey or smile sheet that measures satisfaction with every areas of the training. So you award to them. Don't worry, we're going to look at this together. But level 2 is different. You can't do level 2 without pre-assessment and post-assessment. Probably I will quickly run through this. By the time we get to Kirkpatrick evaluation, I will go back to that. Then number 3 is job application and implementation. Are they able to transfer learning into on the job? So that is where level 3 comes up. So if I teach you Excel, you should be able to start using Excel on the job. If I teach you business communication, then you should be able to start applying it on the job. So job application and implementation, then you move to business impact, then from there you move to ROI, and that is where our highest is today. Then we have the Brinkerhoff success case methodology, which focus on what we call an impact model. The impact model creates a clear map of how the training can benefit the business, although we are not using this, but as you can see, the model there, I've never used it because I focus on Kirkpatrick. So probably by the time Dr. Yemi sent this one to you, you can actually read through. I'm just trying to create, a background to what we are doing today. So yes, it's making sense now. So we look at the Kirkpatrick 4 levels, and do not forget the Philip, because there is something connect them together, and because of the ROI. So just like in the Philip model, we have the reaction, which talks about, I've explained that anyway. Do they enjoy the training? Do they love the training? Do they love the facilitator? Are they satisfied? Then level 2 talks about, is there a learning transfer? And like I told you, I said, if I got here, I'm going to explain it better. So if you want to do learning or transfer of learning, 2 things are very involved. Number 1 is pre-assessment. So pre-assessment gauge the knowledge, or you can use the Bloom taxonomy. I think there's about 7 levels. From knowledge down to understanding, probably down to analysis, down to application. All of these, the 7 Bloom area of knowledge or learning can speak to that. So what we want to do is to look at what is the knowledge of the participant in this training. So at that point, yeah, it's okay if they fail the test, but after the training, it is not okay if they fail this test, because what it means is that learning has not occurred. So if I score 10 over 100 in pre-assessment, I shouldn't score 10 over 100 in post-assessment. So post-assessment and pre-assessment. Yeah, some people ensure that pre-assessment and post-assessment are the same. Yes, it's okay, and you could set it differently. So let me quickly make it more practical. If I am teaching you chemistry, okay, and after I'm done with chemistry, probably I talk about elements, I talk about compound, a mixture, I talk about the 20 or 21 element, from hydrogen to helium, all of those things. I should be able to ask you before the training that what is chemistry? Then after the training, I ask you again, what is chemistry? Before the training, I ask you, can you define mixture? Then after the training, I ask you, define mixture. So I do not expect you to be able to do that before the training, but after the training, I should expect you to do that. So once there is a significant difference between what I scored in pre-assessment and what I scored in the post-assessment, then learning has occurred. Now we move to impact. So at the impact level, there are times learning occurs, but it does not get to impact. So the level 3 measures behavior. So at the beginning of the training or during those training analyses, other stuff, you would have specified the behavior you want your trainees to have after the training. And that one is only being measured after 3 or 6 months. We are going to explain this. Then the final one is result. Now it's getting interesting. Result focus on the influence of training on performance, on culture, in fact, on the bottom line of the business, which is profit. So these are all of the things that focus on. So Kirkpatrick is a key tool for evaluating the efficacy of training within an organization. This model is globally recognized as one of the most effective evaluations of training, especially when combined with the last level of the Philip model, which is the ROI. And that is why today I'm going to focus on behavior level and also on the result level, and we round it up on the ROI level. So let me ask you, you can put it in the comment section, which of these evaluation models have you been using and why do you prefer to use them? Okay, why do you prefer to use the one you said you prefer to make use of? Put it in the comment section while I continue. So module 2, we want to measure behavior and result now. So what is going to be the objective? To help participants improve transfer of learning to the workplace, to determine whether training solutions have affected business result. And I think the major goal of training is to ensure we achieve extraordinary business result. So when I'm doing training, I'm very, 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 very intentional about that. Thank you, guys. I could see that you are dropping your point in the comment section. I will go back to it later. Okay, now let's quickly look at this together as a group discussion. And I'm going to ask you a simple question, but you will put it in the comment section. And by the time we are done today, I'm going to provide answer to this question. So S, Y, and Z companies spent $500,000 per staff on resilient leadership training program. All the 50 participants loved it. Some even call it life-changing. The scores on the surveys given at the end of the class were quite good, and it actually improved learning. After 1 year, the company went through a cost-cutting initiative. So what did they discover? The leadership training program was one of the first things to be eliminated. Oh, why? How? Something that they love, something they find interesting, something that showed that learning actually occurred. Why did you eliminate it? Don't worry, we're going to look at it. Because there was no proof that the leadership program developed leaders and add values to the organization. So the question is very simple. How was S, Y, and Z able to cut costs for their company? Then number two, why was the training program not effective? Let's assume that we are having a physical class right now, we would have started talking. Probably some person will say, no. The way we are looking at this program is very effective because they love it. Everybody was so happy about it. They love the food, they love the facilitator, and they said they are satisfied with the training, and it's even improved learning. But what is happening? There was no impact. It's not changing behavior of the leaders. No value added to the organization. You know, there are organizational success. I hope you can still remember. There are areas that focus on organizational success. If your training does not have any impact on the organizational success, forget it. You have not done training. Okay. So the important question to ask is, how valuable is this training to the organization? Okay. Does it improve knowledge? Does it improve skills? Does it improve attitude and behavior? So these are the critical questions we need to start asking. And when we look at Kirkpatrick evaluation model at level 3 and also at level 4, we realize that there's a possibility that that organization, in terms of behavior, nothing was changing. For example, when you train somebody on resilient leadership, what are the things you should look out for? Number one, adaptability. Probably the leaders are not adaptable to the culture. The turnover is very high. You know, they are not even retaining. And as a result of that, is affecting the business. There is a high churn rate of customers. So there's no change in behavior. So there are 3 parts to change of behavior. Or when we talk about behavior, we have the behavior outcome, number 1. Number 2, we have the behavior latency. Number 3, we have the behavior frequency. So let's quickly look at each of these so that by the time you are measuring behavior, you should be able to, have all of this at the back of your mind, okay? Number 1 is, when we talk about behavior outcome, we are talking about desired behavior change that improves performance and productivity. It could be team performance, it could be individual performance, organizational productivity in terms of finance, customer acquisition, PBT, those stuff, NPS, all of this. Like, apology, I work in the banking industry. I want to be mentioning some kind of banking terminologies. Don't mind me. So is there any change that is desired? Has it occurred? That is behavioral outcome. The number 2 is behavior latency. Now, the difference between the two is has to do with when it was noticed. So there's a possibility that when I put you on leadership training, that first day or second day or 1 week or 2 weeks, that training has changed you, but nobody noticed. Behavioral outcome. Nobody actually observed or noticed. But as time goes on, somebody just say, wow, you have changed. Probably your supervisor, the senior management, or the board just realize that, wow, this person has really, really changed. Okay, then that is behavioral latency. They discover for the first time the improvement that training brought to the organization. They discover for the first time. Now, discovering something for the first time is not enough. It has to be sustained. So can you see that a lot of things go into training? It has to be sustained. So it doesn't have to be one month or 2 months or 3 months. That will be sustained. Then behavior frequency said that how frequent does this behavior, improved behavior occur? Were participants able to sustain this behavior at workplace? And that is where the issue is. People exhibit a kind of behavior after the training, then after 1 or 2 or 3 months, they stop the behavior. Then we go over again. Then at the end of the day, the management or the board will think that we are not working. We are working, but we are unable to get to the level of behavior frequency. Now, we now agree that if you want to measure behavior, do not measure it in first month. Do not measure in second month. Start measuring from third month. Somebody like me, I want it to be at 6 months. So that is why learning and reaction can be measured immediately. But behavior cannot be measured immediately. It will take 3 months or 6 months before you can measure it. And you can see the reason why we are saying that now, from behavior outcome to behavior latency and to behavior frequency. So how many of you are measuring your training? You measure your training after 6 months. How many of you? You don't do it. Immediately you finish the training, final, bye-bye. Training has ended. No, training has just begun. Okay. Now, behavior testing is challenging at this level. It usually takes at least 3 months to 6 months to determine the level of impact. And I think I've explained this already. So let's just move to the next slide. Proof of impact. There are 2 ways to prove impact. We have the anecdotal evidence and quantitative measure. Anecdotal evidence and quantitative measure. So just for me to know that I am not the only one here, I just want to ask a question. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me? I just need one person to confirm that you can hear me. Anyone there?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So we have the anecdotal evidence and quantitative measurement. So what does it mean by anecdotal evidence? That is, this time you rely on the staff, probably the supervisor, the line managers, the board, or the management to give feedback or to gauge the impact of that training. Yes, this one works because it requires some kind of observation and people are able, to give their feedback about what have just happened. Okay. So people can easily say it, and it is very, very potent. So by the time you are taking your proof, please take both anecdotal and also quantitative. But what do I mean by quantitative? This time around, you are using numerical data in terms of performance measure, indicators, it could be number of customers acquired or the reduction in errors, especially those working in the hospitals, whereby the number of errors committed by the nurse or by the doctors, you need to measure it. So you measure whether things are getting better or are getting worse. So, and like I asked, which one is better for you? See, I don't want us to continue with this discussion anyway. So both of them are very, very important. No one is even better. Yeah. But first, personally, I love quantitative measurement, but I also prefer anecdotal. I combine both of them to actually make a lot of sense. So I combine both of them to make a lot of sense, okay? It made a lot of sense. We are doing both of them. So how is behavior impact measured? Through observation, interview, KPI, or behavior impact indicator. Especially some of them have KPI for everybody. Yeah, it's very important. Self-assessment and feedback, which can be combined to form a numerical data. We have the client or stakeholders feedback. Then we have the survey or questionnaire. Personally, I've used observation, I've used interview, I've used KPI. Self-assessment and feedback. Yes, I've done that too. Because 3 months, 6 months, I usually send survey. Then I've gotten feedback from supervisor, I think I have used all of these 6. And I won't lie to you, when you combine them in a unique way, it makes a lot of sense. So tips for implementing level 3. Number 1, identify desired performance outcome. That is number 1. You need to identify desired performance outcomes. I've explained this from your training needs analysis. You should have done that. Okay. So this is it. Listen. If you complete training need analysis, it must have the training, the objective of the training, and the outcome of the training. So the outcome of the training is the behavior or the result itself. It must have it. So if I'm measuring, it's very easy for me. If I show you my training in the analysis now, let's assume that I show you a sample, you're so surprised the way I document it, so detailed. So by the time I'm measuring, it's very easy for me. Number two, the associated business measures that gauge the impact of the participant change in performance and show the relationship between individual performance and organizational performance. It must be tied to the business itself. It must validate desired performance outcome. That's number one. Then number two, you need to develop a plan to support the transfer of learning and sustain performance. So identify a valuable alternative to reinforce learning. Let me quickly explain that. So for example, currently now, we just finished a graduate training program in my organization. Then while I was preparing that curriculum, or when we were preparing the curriculum, what we did is that after this program, what are we going to place them on in the first month, second month, third month? It was detailed what they'll be doing, well detailed. So it is like you try to support or reinforce learning. So after training does not end. You need to reinforce the learning so that it can lead to change of behavior. But what we usually do nowadays is, even I've seen where some organizations, they only have one training per year. Once you finish that one training, that's the end. No, it's wrong. Thank God we have the knowledge sharing session, we have the podcast, we have so many things. So you reinforce, and you must have a detailed plan to reinforce that. You know, I'm trained by Johnson Maswell team. If Johnson Maswell is training your leadership, they are going to create it for 1 year for you. It's going to be 1 year. So it's not like one leadership of the, and I think that LBS is also doing the same thing. Thank God Dr. Yemin is here. They do the same thing. At least they have helped undo programs before. Yeah, they do the same thing. So you identify factors other than the learning that might affect performance outcome, determine barrier to transfer of learning, and, you know, etc. The last one, assess the transfer of learning to the workplace. So, and that is why we have to go back to the third level of Philip. Are they able to transfer that learning to the workplace? So do not wait till 3rd month or 6th month before you look into that, because that is part of the change of behavior. So, and if they need further support, then you need to make recommendation for that support. I train somebody on an Excel or data analytics, and the person don't have desktop or laptop to practice. That is a waste of money and resources. So if you finish training, you should be able to look at it. Do they have the technology? Do they have the tools that will support them? Do they have additional training materials? It's still part of the behavior. So behavior did not just happen like overnight. Recommend changes based on evaluation of the transfer of learning. So probably there's other thing you need to do. You need to also schedule them for another training, or you need to recommend them for, it could be, you know, outdoor activities. It could be like just visiting Ikoyi prison that will change that behavior. It could mean go to Ilajin in Ibadan that will do that change of behavior. So it doesn't end there. Here are the sample of behavioral outcome. We have behavioral outcomes such as wearing hand gloves. When should it be measured? During another training. With what tools? Observation. So I'm trying to like create how you can measure some things. Then we have the wearing safety mask, sterilizing the equipment, replacing partial empty cylinder, use and clean of the respiratory equipment. These are behavior, because these are things they need to repeat year in and year out, and they need to do it well. So you keep observing it, and at the end of the day, you find a way to measure it, probably after 3 months or 6 months. You can use quantitative, or you use anecdotal. So let's go to result. Like I told you, they are a little bit different, and you're going to see the differences now. Finally, the level 4 evaluation assess whether the training program goals were met or if the business result have been achieved. So at this level, we are not talking about the behavior, which we can observe. Now, result is purely quantitative. There's nothing like anecdotal. There's not an anecdotal. It's purely quantitative. And we are going to increase the number of sales from 50% to 95%. There's something you can do about that once you put that in your proposal. So the only way we know that the training have achieved result is, has it moved to 95%? Or, you know, there are a lot of results in organization. Well, we are going to increase our profit from 50 billion to 100 billion after this training. It's finished. Or we are going to reduce regulatory infractions by 2% or by 0, or we reduce it to 0%. So these are results. So it's not about observation. Somebody has to come with hard data, very hard data. And most of the time, like where I work, we reach out to finance, performance in finance. We reach out to standard management team that focus on customers. We reach out to people in charge of culture. Then we just combine all of those things together. We get the data for turnover. So you are getting real data, not observation. This one is not, you can't bobo this one. Result is result. So before you start that training, you need to identify what result you want to get. And as a matter of fact, you have to amplify it. It has to be so showcased that everybody knows what we really want to get. So let's go back to the case study that we said the other time. Don't forget the question we asked, and we are quickly going to do it now. So the question is, why did they reject the training? Now, things we need to look at are the result or the behavior, okay? So if I ask you now, can we answer one or two questions? So let's look at it. So before we go into this, I want us to look at, this was supposed to come before that one. So the pitfall to avoid by the time you are doing all this is the idea that training can solve all performance and productivity problems. The idea that we should think about training first before business, organizational goal, and employee needs. Let me quickly lay that emphasis. And I think you already know, training does not solve all problems. Probably that could be an answer to this question here. That's number one. Training, write it down. In fact, write it down. Training does not solve all organizational problems. Please don't let them bobo you. And that is why before you go into training and invest so much, you need to do your due diligence. Does this peculiarity requires training, or just give them tools, or just restructuring? The last time I came, I talked about change management, okay? Whereby we're doing restructuring. Some people, all you need to do is to change them from one department and put them in another department, they will do well. That is, put people where they can deliver most value. So no matter how you train the person, forget, the person is not going to deliver value, because there is a place you need to put the person for that person to deliver. And that is why job rotation is part of training program. We didn't just call it training. It is training and development, or learning and development. You know, people lose sight of development. So there's a job rotation, job mobility, job shadowing. These are training, or these are developmental program, coaching, mentoring. Okay, so not every time training solves a problem. Restructuring can solve that problem. Okay, moving one person to another location can solve the problem. Get the person EAP program can solve the problem. So not every time training solves a problem. So what are the training metrics and business metrics we need to look at? The number of employees successfully complete training, the pass or fail rate of knowledge assessment, how well training solution map to the job functions, the rate of behavior change as a result of training, the impact of training solution on KPIs, the ratio of financial return. These are business metrics that we need to look at for. Yeah, I've just mentioned those: financial metrics, sales metrics, human resource metrics, production metrics, customer service metrics, revenue metrics, and safety metrics. So how is business result measured? Via the KPI, benchmarking on comparative analysis, ROI calculations, client and customer satisfaction, loyalty and retention survey, and all of those one. They are still speaking about the same thing, but we are trying to like break it down so that it can speak to everybody here. So to determine the business impact of your training, you need to develop a plan to evaluate business results for learning solution. So for example, identify program, performance outcome, and business measure. I've said that today. Recommend how to assess post-intervention performance and business result against benchmark data. So before you start that training, you need to identify business results that the training can deliver and benchmark it to other industry or what you have done in the past. Then once you do that, you need to come up with a post-intervention performance and also business result. And you have to determine the timing and require resources for evaluation. I might have told you most of the time it only takes 3 to 6 months, but when you really want to do great, it's about 6 months. Number 2, you need to identify business outcome, which I've already explained today. You need to assess business result, which we are about to do. You gather data to identify gap. You have to work with other departments to gather all the data you will need for what you are doing. Let me repeat. The reason why I'm laying emphasis on this is because some people told me that, Fola, nobody has ever done ROI. And sincerely speaking, I've done it. You just have to know how it works. You are not going to be working alone. You are working with performance. You are working with finance. You are working with anybody in charge of customer service. You are working with anybody that has major data you want to use. Internal control, they have some data. Audits, they have some data you can use. Get all of them. Get all of them. Anything that speaks to the business. You know, there are areas of business, compliance, profit making, customers, stakeholders, shareholders. These are major area of the business. So gather all your data, know whom to work with. As a matter of fact, from January, send an email to them. Let them know that you'll be coming for this data and you will need them for what you are doing. I love it when I'm handling my training from January and I know who I'm to work with to get the necessary data. Okay, so you must have proof for any major changes within the organization. So you recommend changes based on the evaluation of business result. Probably by the time you have gathered all your data, you have analyzed them, then you actually recommend changes. So let's look at some business result and when it should be measured and with what tools. So pay attention. Let me allow you to, stretch your body a bit, probably for 1 minute or 2 minutes. Then we look at this together. Okay, let's quickly do this. Business result, this is just an example. You can have yours. Number one, reduce risk of contact with hazardous substance. Number two, increase safe habit practices by 78%. Number three, reduce death of patient. Number four, increase customer acquisition and retention by 55%. Reduce turnover by 25%. If you look at all this, these are real data, not something you feel. That's why it's called result. So when should they be measured? Can you see 3 to 6 months? Gather all the data. How do you measure them? Through survey and observation. Why some of them you have to go and look at their KPI and appraiser to do that. So you have to wait for probably H1 or you wait for H2 before you do some of them. Why some of them you don't have to wait so far like that? Okay. And now this is an example on, probably I knew that I mentioned about evaluation plan and strategy. So you have to have an evaluation plan and strategy. I mentioned it by the time you want to do your business result. So, and this one usually come before the evaluation. You have to have something like this. I know that Dr. Yemi is going to send this to you. So you need to have something like this. For example, what is the name of the project? And let me tell you something. The one question that could come to your mind is, which training should I do ROI for? Not all training requires ROI. Write it down. Not all training requires ROI. So I'm going to give you the indicators to go for ROI. Number one, if you observe that it has become a major problem, the problem you want to solve is a major problem in the organization. For example, turnover. Turnover probably is a major problem. And now you get people like us to come and do training to reduce turnover. So if we attach the training to the turnover, then we have to have an evaluation plan and strategy like this. So the first thing we will do is to reduce turnover by so. So what do we need? We have to look at the level 3 and level 4 of the impact. So we create something like this as our evaluation, strategy. So I observed that my laptop is becoming low, but let me continue. I still have about 36 minutes, so I might find a way to actually charge it. Okay. So I don't want to waste your time here, but once they send this document to you, go and look at the evaluation plan and strategy. It will really, really help you. And let me go back to which training should we measure. Number one, if you are solving a major problem with the organization, please, once they deploy the training, be very, very interested in measuring the evaluation. That's number one. Number two, if the amount of money you invested is very high, so when you compare the money to other training that you do, you see that is very high, then go for it. Go and do it, because management is going to ask you, what is the impact of that training that you invested so much on, okay? You need to also do that. Then number three, probably your board or your management will demand for it. Like where I work, it's part of yearly document we provide. So we have to do it. We have to do it. So if it is regulatory or anything like that, so you have to go and do it. So develop something like this. By the time they send it to you, you can read better. So let's go to I think this is the last one, ROI of training model, before we move to case study and just look at how it's being done. So let's look at the ROI of the training model to help participants measure the return on investment of training, to help participants understand how to use the ROI of training model and determine the effectiveness of training. So we quickly look at a very simple thing. Now, if you look at, I've asked 1 or 2 questions. Now, another one is coming. Can we justify the money invested in this training? A retail supermarket has 100 stores. Its training department developed a new sales training program for retail associations that's designed to help them increase sales. The program has been piloted at 5 stores. The total cost of the pilot is $500. After the training, monthly sales increased, wow, by 5%, with a total net profit of $27,000. Imagine what will happen if we were to do training in 100 stores. Is this training effective or not? I need you to put it in the comment section. Is this training effective? Let me tell you what has happened in the training. The total cost of the training is $25,500, while there was an increase in sales by 5%, and with a total net profit of $27,000, even higher than the cost by $2,000. Is that by $1,500 per store? That is per store. So how much will it be for 100 stores? Merely looking at this, is the training effective or not? Can we continue with this training? Be careful what you post into the comment section. You might be right or wrong, but we're going to look at it together. But let me give you additional 30 seconds to keep posting. I could see a lot of you are doing that already. Is this training effective? Is this training effective? Okay, so let's quickly go and look at it, if this training is effective or not. Let's go. So how do we know? Number 1, we've collected our data. We isolate the effectiveness of the training. We are going to convert data to monetary value. We are going to identify a tangible benefit. Now, let me quickly pay attention here. I don't know whether you can see my cursor. Pay attention in this place. Probably I will still explain it. Pay attention in this place. If what you want to measure as monetary value, you go to ROI, because there are 2 ways to ROI, and I want you to learn it now. If what you want to measure as monetary value, go to ROI calculations. If what you want to measure has no monetary value, purely anecdotal, purely qualitative, go to identify the tangible benefit and report it. This is anecdotal, and it is also qualitative, not quantitative. But if you can measure it in monetary value, then please move ahead. And that's exactly what we are going to do. Then another thing you need to pay attention to, I said isolate the effect of training. I'm going to explain that, and you will see how we come about 5%. Probably we have isolated the impact of training, because it is not training that yield the total business result. So we need to know how much of the training that leads to the business result we are actually measuring. So that is where isolation of training. If you do not do isolation of training, you are not going to be able to calculate ROI. And we're going to show you now, okay? Now we have collected our data. As you can see here, we see our data. We have collected our data, okay? And there are different ways you can collect your data, right? Survey, ask performance, ask everybody, they should supply you data. You have collected those data, okay? Now you can see the data you can collect. Sample are here. By the time we send this one to you, please go and look at it. We have the hard data, unit produced, items sold, new account opening, overtime, time to project, unit cost, variable cost. We have output, time, cost, and quality. Is there anything I'm missing from here? output, time, cost, and quality. I think that's the major thing that determines outcome. Probably Dr. Yemi can help us in this area. Output, time, cost, and quality. I think those are the major things. Yeah. So you just have the hard data. So you have the hard data. Then we have the soft data. We have the soft data, work habit, work climate and attitude, development and promotion and innovation, culture, all of those things. So it depends on what you are collecting. Most of the time, the soft data could go into the benefit, like all those areas. And if you find a way to convert it to monetary value, you can do that. But don't worry, you're still going to do one of them. Now, isolation of training. Look at it. 2 ways. 3 ways anyway. Number one, you can create a control. So you put let's say you are training leaders. You can say, okay, we are going to go to train 30 leaders. We are going to train 30 leaders. And we look at their performance in the next 6 months. Control. And I think in our PhD, that's what we are doing. Dr. Rayem, that's what you did, right? Then we have the trend line analysis. Look at trend analysis. Then you look at, this is one I usually use anyway. I don't do control, but probably I'm going to try control this year. I'm not sure, but I'm used to this one. Supervisors and participant estimation. So this one, what it means is that you will get feedback from supervisors. You will also get feedback from the trainees and their supervisor. And you will see how we are going to do. Please pay attention here. If you don't do this, it will be very difficult to measure the ROI. Okay. Now you can create a control, you can do a trend analysis, and you can see an example of trend analysis in this place. Since 2017, we look at what is the sales all about. And you can compare it with when you didn't have the program and when you have the program. Okay, probably from 2015 to 2020, we do not have the program. What is the sales like? But from 2020 until now, we have been running this program. What is the sales like? Okay, so this is just like a trend analysis, and it can help you out. Then we have the isolation of training. You get data from the supervisor, you get data from the trainees, and the kind of data you're going to get is gotten through survey. It's gotten through survey. So there is a survey you send to them after 3 or 3rd month. It only focuses on those objectives. Now, if you are focusing on turnover, customer acquisition, and all of those things, so you send to their supervisor, measure this person based on this person attended this training so time. So based on this training, what has been the performance of this person? So they measure it, probably from 1 to 10. They begin to measure, but it's going to be very clear. Based on the training this person attended, what has been the performance on this following? Number 1, communication, culture. You just put it there like that. Then they begin to measure it. While you send the same thing to the supervisor, you also send it to the participant. So by the time you get both of them together, this is what you're going to do, okay? Probably on training program or anything you are measuring, you will multiply the percentage together. Percentage from the supervisor multiplied by percentage from the participant is going to give you a particular percentage. So most of the time, that is where we get our percentages from. If you are seeing any percentage I want to use, if we don't do this, we will not be able to convert it to monetary value. So let's assume that there is an increase in sales. We have measured supervisor. We have also measured the type of direct report. Now we have been able to get a particular percentage. So we will pick the percentage and multiply. If it is 50 billion profit they make, we multiply it. So at that level, we are now getting how do I put it now? We are now getting the monetary value of that training on the business outcome. I don't know whether you understand this, okay? So any data you get from the supervisor, that convert it to percentages, any data you get from the direct report, and multiply the percentage together, it will give you a new percentages. That is exactly what you are doing. But if you don't want to do that, you can ask yourself, okay, from the last time to this time, what was the percentage in the last time? What is the percentage now? Get it, and before you know what is happening, you are actually getting a real result. So you convert it to monetary value, which we are going to do currently. So before we go into the calculation area, can you give me a few minutes? Let me quickly put my charger so that we can quickly look at the calculations. So I'm coming back to this place now. We can quickly look at the calculation. And apology, I got carried away I should have quickly put. Thank you, Doctor. So this is what we are actually looking at, converting data to monetary value. So we are going to focus on unit improvement, probably such as sales increment in terms of percentage. I think we know how to get that. So what was your performance in the last time? What is the new performance? Okay, we must find a way to get the percentages, which is very, very important. Then you could focus on unit improvement and you can calculate the change in performance. All of these are here, probably in terms of sales increase, sales volume, or in terms of PBT. What was the PBT last year? What was the PBT this year? The most important thing is that we have isolated training. Isolation of training simply means that if other factors leads to this profit, this is the area for training. You need to do that. So what it means is that if, let's assume that Dr. Yemi is my supervisor and I am the direct report, I brought in 50 million within a year. Okay. Now there is a survey to Dr. Yemi and we asked Dr. Yemi, there are so many factors that make me to be productive this year. In all these factors, how much can you attribute to training? So Dr. Yemi can say, I think it is this training that did this thing, okay? Because last year, this guy was not performing until we put him into this program. I think this training deserves 60%. Now you come to me, Fola, we realize that your performance increased this year. What led to that performance increase? It was that training, but there are other factors anyway. Probably Dr. Yemi too is coaching me, is helping me. I have other friends that are like my backbone, but I think I can attribute 40% to this training. So we pick that of Dr. Yemi, you pick my own, probably 60% and 40%. You multiply it together, it's going to give you something percentage. So based on this rule, that is the training contribution to my performance. And that's what we are going to use. That is at the level of training isolation. So if there's an increase in sales, it means that it is not all of those increase that come from training. There are other factors that come from them. And that is why I lay emphasis that please, you must do training isolation. Where is it? You've got to do training isolation before we actually move ahead. Training isolation of training. You have to do that. So now that we have done all of these things, we have gotten so many monetary value. We have converted data to monetary values. We have ensured that we have all our data packed together. Now we move ahead. So I think there are two areas to monetary value. We have the cost area and we also have the outcome or benefit area. Okay, so we need to, there is a cost for training. So what are the all cost component of training? Cost of program design and development, cost of program materials, cost of facilitators, cost of facility and logistics, employee salary during that period, and benefits of those who attended the program, administrative and overhead costs. Calculate all the costs. If somebody go for 3 days training, the cost of salary is in that 3 days. Thank God we have our payroll people here. They can calculate it out. So every cost component of those training, you have to calculate it. So as you are calculating the cost of training, you also have to calculate the benefits, of the training. So based on some of the, these are just like an hypothetical cost of training that we have done. Facilitation fee 1,000 to 1.2 million. Program materials 455, 1,000, hotel and meals for facilitator, logistic coordination, evaluation, overheads, and total cost. So here we have the total cost of 2.5 million for the cost of training. We are just trying to do some hypothetical before we go to the one we are going to do together. So here, what are the program benefits? Now pay attention in this place. Now we want to calculate the possible ROI of the training, but we have to know the benefit, okay? For example, the average monthly sales, we realize that for the 50 group, it increased to 6.5 million. okay? Why the untrained group, you know, like if we're having a control group, is about 2.8 million. So at the end of the day, we realize that there's a sales increase to 3.7 million. Now we now say, okay, out of this 3.7 million, we know that not all of them is caused because we trained them. So because of the data we have gathered, then we realize it was 6.7%. After we have done supervisors, we have done the direct report, we have been able to come, at the end of the day, we come with 6.7%. So when I say, okay, the contribution of training is 6.7%, then times the sales increase in volume. So what did we get there? We have 247.927. So by the time we want to calculate, now look, okay, let's look at the training impact anyway. So the total monthly improvement per person is this 247,927. So what of for 50 participants? So we have 12.3 million. I know, I hope my mathematics is not too high anyway. Yeah, apology. Don't worry, by the time you get this document, you will see it well. Probably I'm supposed to be using, board, but don't worry. So that's why I took my time to do this analysis so that you can get it. Then, what is the total annual benefit? So we are calculating for a whole year. So we have done the one for monthly. Now the total annual benefit, by the time we multiply by 12 months, that is 148 million. Don't forget where we started from. This is the sales increase in volume. This is 3.7 million. Then we isolate training. It was at 6.7%. So per individual, we have 6.7% times this, which is 247,927. Then let's look at it for 50 participants monthly. Then we have 2.3 million. Then annually, we have 148 million. So what are we going to do next? We have to calculate the ROI. And what is the ROI? It is the program benefit or net gain divided by program cost. So how do we get that? This is the total benefit, net gain. Then this is the cost we incur during the training. So, and it is program benefit, which is the net gain, divided by program cost. And by the time we do it, we realize that we have 58%. Oh, I shouldn't have put that thing in the front. I will have asked you that question that. So is the ROI of this training positive or negative? I should have asked you before I put all of these things. So when you look at this, this is 58% at the end of the day. So there is no return on investment because it's 58%. And the one question you can ask me now is that, Fola, 58% is big now. No, there is no, because there are decision indicators when it comes to ROI of training. We have decision indicators. Number one is 100% ROI means that you earn your money back. No increase, no decrease. ROI above 100% means that the training is effective and there is return on investment from training. Then ROI less than 100% actually means that you are at a loss. So in this case, 58% means that we are at a loss. So the last time I asked you a question, or don't forget, I gave you one thing that you should calculate. If you can still remember this question, can you still remember this question? So you realize that by the time we did the ROI, it was less than 100%. So automatically, it's very low. So that training, all I need to do as a consultant to tell them, that training is not effective. And I could remember that time before I left my former place of work. We do all of this thing year out, and we use it to place consultants on blacklisting. Some of them, we reach out to them and tell them we're not going to be using them again, while some of them we tell that we communicate to those we want to use. In fact, at the beginning of the year, we have stakeholder engagement with them. So once you get our letter, just know that we are using you. Once you don't get our letter, automatically we have blacklisted you because we did the ROI of your training. It's not effective. And there's no point using you again. So let's look at this one together again before I round up for today. So let's look at it. Then you will give me the answer. Just be patient and you give me the answer. We are going to do the calculation together. But let's see, probably this one will be different from the last one. So SYZ Bank has been conducting an in-house training program for its top 50 staff on excellent project management since 2020. The training overall objective was to provide the 50 staff with additional skills for timely completion of projects. Post-training evaluations showed that there was an increase in timely completion of projects from 13% to 21%, which is equivalent to 15.25 million per month. The training cost for individual is 350,000 naira. Using the ROI model, kindly advise the management whether the program should continue or not. So let me give you a few time. Please help me look at this program and let's know whether this program should continue or not. In fact, I am rushing down to the comment section now to see whether the training should continue or whether the training should not continue. So can we start? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Look at this thing very well. Do you think the training is effective or not? Let me go over it again. S1 Bank has been conducting an in-house training program for its top 50 staff on excellence in project management since 2020. The training overall objective was to provide the 50 staff with additional skills for timely completion of project. Post-training evaluation showed that there was an increase in timely completion of project from 13% to 21%. Now, when we begin to do the analysis without doing calculation, you can tell me that this training is effective because there was an increase from 13% to 21%. That's about how many percentage now? 7, 8, that's about 8%, right? That's about 8% increment, which is equivalent to 15.25 million per month. So the training cost for the individual is 350,000. Using the ROI model, can you advise? So me, in fact, merely looking at 13% to 21%, somebody like me now, I will tell you, forget, let's give this training to them again. But ROI does not work that way. We have to do the calculation. I know that some of you have started doing the calculation, but let's go into the calculations mode. Let's look at how it goes. So, ROI calculation. Timely completion of project, which was value per month, is 15.25 million. So what is the training contribution to 15.25 million? So we have to say 8% times 15.25 million. So it gives us 1.2 million. And we have 50% participants. So if that 1.2 million is per individual, then we can multiply by 50 people. So this one gives us 61 million. This one gives us 61 million for 50 participants for a month. So let's quickly throw it to 12 months. So we have 732 million. 732 million. So the question now is, what is the total cost? So the total cost of training is 17.5 million. So what is the net gain? Do not forget that we calculated the net gain. That's going to be 732 million minus 17.5 million, then divided by 17.5 million. I think that's the way we calculated the, what we actually calculated then. So the question now is, what is the ROI of this training? So the ROI of the training is now going to be net gain divided by the cost of the training. And in this case, the net gain is 714.5 million divided by 17.5 million. We got 39.83%. So let me ask you this question. Should this training continue or should it be discontinued? So based on our analysis, we realize that ROI of the training showed that there is no return on investment. We advise that the training should stop. And you know me, I love superior argument. So if I'm stopping here, we can come back here and do some kind of superior argument, whether is enough or whether it is not enough. So based on the result of the ROI evaluation, strategic changes can be put in place in order to ensure training program effectiveness and fit for purpose. All training professionals should, number one. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that by the time you do this, it might not mean that it was not the training working. And if you can remember, there are other things you have to put in place for training to work. And thank God, I know that we have wonderful, wonderful HR here, leaders that they are change makers. Please don't just leave your L&D, and before, don't just start blaming your L&D people. Training in itself does not solve all organizational problems. And I'm usually amazed and surprised at the same time when the board or MD, we are not seeing your training. No, it's more than that. There are cultural issues. There are two issues, environmental issue, even leadership issue. They have trained you on leadership, assigned coach to you, are not changing. And yet, you want training to work. So training in itself does not change anything. If all other things does not remain constant, or okay, let me go to chemistry or physics, every other thing must be at work. So training as an environment. So to my L&D, although by the grace of God, I thank God, and because I understand this, so I am always beyond just training or be an L&D or performance or culture person. I know how to work with executives and management to ensure that they can drive the environment that will make training to be successful. As a matter of fact, thank God, Dr. Yemi will know here how we usually invest in leadership training. In my former life, we have to call ABS, come and do this for us, because we want training to work. So what do? We redesign the current training. If it's not working, redesign it. Reevaluate L&D data for this evaluation. Form long-term alliances across functions. And above all, work with your stakeholders so that training can work. If you know that you are training some people like all those junior staff, go and start working with their supervisor on leadership so that it can work. As you are training supervisor, start working on other people within the firm on other areas of the training. So training has to be well encompassing. It has to be well redesigned to ensure that it's produced a result. I think that is where I'm going to stop today. I don't know your key takeaway. You can drop it in the comment section and I will stop here. These are my contacts in case you need further engagement or probably you need some kind of consultancy. We actually be glad to do that. And I thank God Dr. Yemi too is there. You can reach out to him. He knows how to get to me. But let's come back here as I round up. Do you think this one is fair or is not fair? Let's start the conversation from there. So I'm done. Anyway, I'm done. Thank you, everyone. But let's just have this conversation around there. Do you think this our calculation is fair enough? or we should do something about it? Over to you, Dr. Yevin, and everybody. I really want to have conversation around what we are doing now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Sir, that was an excellent presentation. Very spot on.
Thank you
for your magnanimity, your kindness, your sacrifice. Very thorough, in-depth masterclass. Again, if you like to ask a question or quickly share your thoughts or experience around the subject matter, don't forget our subject matter is around return on investment on training, please. Please raise your hands quickly. We recognize you and you ask your question, or do us a favor, quickly type your questions or comments in the chat box. We still have a few more minutes.
I have received some questions here. Let me quickly start answering them.
Thank you, sir.
Perhaps Ajayi said, what tool or app do you use to gather, analyze your data? Thank you so much. So in my own organization where I work, I leverage on, if I'm doing survey or questionnaire, I leverage on Microsoft Teams. So I gather my questionnaire, and that's the area I didn't do here today because I just want to focus on the ROI because I don't want to delay anybody here. If not, I would have also done data collection and a little bit of the data analysis for all of us. It's more than what we are doing now. Probably Dr. Yemi can arrange a larger class where we have more hours to look into that, whereby we collect. I would have just shown you probably we can say data collection and analysis, okay? How we collect the data. So I collect my data through questionnaire or survey. I will prepare it. And there are times we also have to know how to ask those questions. And majority of my questions goes to the objective and the outcome. That is what is focused on when it comes to ROI or behavior or result. It focus, if you don't have objective and outcome, it will be very, very difficult for you to do. You won't be able to do it. You will not. So when somebody is training and you say, these are the objective, if you are a training consultant here and you have passed through me, you will see that I'm very thorough with your objective and outcome. As a matter of fact, I have declined consultants because they don't even really understand objective from outcome, because I don't want anything to affect my evaluation. So I will ask the person, what is it? So once it is articulated, and at times, if I'm sending training advice to a consultant to prepare anything on, I will send it to the person. This is the objective, and these are the outcome. So I will use Microsoft Teams or Google Sheets to do it. Some people are using my SurveyMonkey or any other thing like that, but those are the major tools I use for gathering my data. So that is the one that is based on survey and questionnaires. There are other ones you have to work with other departments. For example, personally, I know what I should work with. Immediately I'm entering the organization, I quickly make them my friends. Finance, there's a unit in finance that is called performance. So I work with them. Then if, like me now, in my current role now, I combine learning with performance and culture. So any data that has to do with performance is already resident with me. But if I am in a role that there is no, I'm not working, it's not resident with me, then I have to form a alliance with the performance team so that I can get data from them. Then it depends on how your organization is structured. So if you need to gather data from every other area, then you go and gather this data, especially if you want to go quantitative. So you need to gather it. So that is how to gather data. You leverage on every other person, NPS, turnover, customer acquisition, churn rate, PBT, you know the stuff. Just gather all of them. If it is survey or a questionnaire, you can do that by yourself, okay? And you gather your data. Now, how do I analyze? Personally, I use Excel. I also use Power BI to do my analysis. But in this case of ROI, you have to quickly do it on Excel sheet. Then if I am doing, even now, you can use regression analysis. You can use Excel for regression analysis now. There are all these new Excel. Once you have the add-on, it will bring out data analysis. So personally now, I can do data regression analysis on my Excel. I can do correlation analysis on my Excel. I think I can do ANOVA too on my Excel. So that one depends on what you're analyzing. If it has to do with it depends on the level of analysis you are doing anyway. Prescriptive, descriptive, and probably you want the one that has to do with effect, whether you are doing experimental things. So it depends. So I hope I've answered your question, Babs and Ajayi. So you just have to come up, and you can use SPSS, eView. There are many there. There are very many there. So, oh, all of you said they are very effective. You see now? So after the calculation, we realized that it wasn't effective. Yeah, so any other question? Thank you. Okay, splendid. Thank you, sir, for the class. Can I get this training? Yeah, you're going to get it. Doctor will send it to everybody. Training does not solve our problem. Yes, correct. If you don't mind, you can display your contact again. Dr. Yemi can send it. By the time you have these materials, you will have it. Announcement, somebody is making an announcement. Okay. Thank you. Training outcome can be got. Yes, yes. Okay. I think Shew is saying that, thank you for the training, sir. Training outcome can be gotten from an external consultant if they conducted the TNA. Yes, you are correct. Sometimes consultants don't get adequate information. Yeah, it's a serious problem. And the only way out is our consultants too. At times, because everything for consultant is about money. I could remember, was it last year when I had the stakeholder engagement with all our consultants, I told them, can we achieve this together? Then one of them stood and said, it will come at a price. No. Anyway, it depends. But if you think you want to go that route, no problem. The internal faculties will be doing that. Thank you. I think I'm done with some of the questions. Probably there's anyone I missed, I don't know. Over to you, Dr. Yemi.
Thank you so much, sir. We are indeed
Welcome.
grateful. This has been extremely beneficial. Thank you so much. Abimbola Fisher says, I think when it comes to training needs analysis, line managers should be involved. You want to react quickly to that?
Yes. It is from them, because you cannot do TNA without line managers. As a matter of fact, there are different ways you get your TNA. From the appraiser, then the question is who does the appraiser? Line managers. They are the one that do it. So you have to engage them. Then the number two is probably you do a survey, which is TNI survey. There's something that organizations are not doing now, which is wrong. And I know that some organizations are doing it. There's always called competency assessment. I don't know how many times you have done that in your organization. It has to be done, and it has to be done yearly. So the competency assessment for every unit will show the competency level of the organization. So you will now know where to focus your training interventions on. Okay. So and some people are saying, how do we go about it? It's very simple. If you can't deploy it internally, recommend to the board, to the management that this thing is very important, then give it, outsource it to consultants. And consultant will be glad to do it. Yeah, they will be glad to do it. And if you want to do internally, you need somebody to support you and guide you all the way. And I think we have some, I'm here, and there are some consultants here that can actually help. And the competency has to be done. And you can leverage on, all these other software or other, how do I put it now? Survey institutions, and they can help you do that. So that's number two. So the outcome of that competency assessment will determine where the focus should be there. Another area is that business goal. So business will tell you that, see, this year, we want all our employees to have digital skills. Some will tell you, we want our employees to have this kind of skills. Why some of them is regulatory. So that one also determines. Then finally, by the time you are combining all of these things together, you still have to go and sit down with the line managers. We call it stakeholder engagement. So it starts from them, it ends with them. So by the time you are done with your TNA, do not just go ahead like that. Go and have stakeholder engagement with all of them, identify them. So this is what we have gathered. These are the trends. This is what is happening in the industry. This is our competency assessment. This is what is put in your appraiser. What is the way forward? Can we talk? Then they begin to tell you. Some of them have deep knowledge about those staff and where they should be developed or trained on. So it starts from the line managers and also end with the line managers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to unmute us now so that we can appreciate our facilitator. Let's thank him, let him hear our voice, our gratitude.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fola. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.